see the world in crisis. With political upheaval and unstable government rip their way out of money troubles. I've become very concerned. That's why I buy gold every chance I get. I even like the I buy my gold from Rosalind Capital because I trust them. No 0%. Rosalind will be any price of any coin at any time. Just call. And Rosalind ships my gold faster than anyone else, and that's important to me.
Hey folks, how's everybody doing?
Doing great.
IRA kit with smart ways you can
Hey,
transfer.
how you doing? Good to see you.
800-630-89.
Somebody has a radio on somewhere. Or TV?
I think we're okay now.
So I think we have everybody here, right?
As far as I know.
I saw Larry, I saw you, I saw Rich, so our committee's here. So I'm going to call our meeting to order at exactly 5:30. And if we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. There it is. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, which stands one republic, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to do a roll call. I saw Patricia.
She's not on. You gotta be turned on. There you
All right,
go.
now I'm unmuted.
Okay, I'm like, I saw her. I know I did.
Rebecca Bear,
Present.
George Andrews,
Here.
Larry Diamond,
Here.
Rich Lamus,
Here.
all present.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for June 8th, 2020, with the members of the committee reserving the right to add to the agenda and to take further action in the best interest of the district?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. So that was George, and who was the second by?
Larry.
Okay, all right. All right, and then I just need a motion to approve the minutes from May 11th, 2020.
So move.
That
Second.
was Rich first and George second. Okay. Our first item on the agenda is insurance renewals, and I did see Mr. Thompson there, so go over that for us. Let me unmute you. Hold on. You're muted. Hold on. Let's see. You're unmuted now. You're good. Okay.
I think I'm good.
You're good
Okay.
now. Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for having me tonight. And as someone just put up on the screen there, we can see the differences between this year and last year and the providers and the pricing. My understanding is that you guys had been provided this information before, so I wanted to kind of give a high level overview since we last met, which I believe was in March. And as everyone's aware, everyone's world has changed since we last met. You know, it's been an interesting ride, and certainly for you guys, you certainly have some battles to fight. So when we last met, we talked about you know, some potential increases in what we saw out there, and we've got the actual renewal quotes in from the carriers, and you can see the differences. I want to kind of go through line by line where we're talking about some of the larger differences. So I want to start with the top line, obviously the package, the property insurance with CM Regent. And just for everybody's frame of reference, CM Regent is the endorsed carrier from the Pennsylvania School Boards Association. You have been insured with CM Regent and the PSBA Insurance Trust previous to that for a number of years. I have to go back and look at my records to get the exact number, but I want to say it's been probably 8 years at least. So the difference between last year and this year on the property line is two things. Number one, you are buying $12 million more property insurance this year than you did last year. And that is all driven by an appraisal that gets done each year to keep up with your building values. So this year, your overall building values increased by $12 million. So we're buying more insurance, number one. Number two, there was a property rate increase across the board, not just for East Stroudsburg, but for all school districts in Pennsylvania. So that's what we're seeing, a big difference there. The next couple of lines are, essentially flat. The big change as you go further down is the automobile coverage. And you can see about a $26,000 difference there. And the big difference this year relative to last year is that this year we are covering, according to the information we've provided or been provided, 26 more vehicles than we had last year.
Yeah.
Now, that could be a number of things. Some of the things that have happened in the past is that, you guys would get a number of buses in, let's say May, and the old buses haven't gone back yet till maybe after July 1. So that may be part of the change. I'm not sure. But if upon further review, if there is a difference, if you really don't have 26 extra vehicles, then certainly that will be reduced by the number of vehicles that you actually do have. The excess liability went down a little bit. School leaders is essentially flat. Sports accident coverage, student athletic coverage is up. And that's a systemic problem that we have in Pennsylvania. It's affecting all school districts all over the state. It's driven by claims. So there have been some claims under the student accident policy, and that's driving the cost. And our excess workers' comp coverage went up just a hair, but that's based on payroll increases. Workers' comp is always based on payroll increases. And one thing I kind of wanted to point out to the group is that I guess it's been 3 years ago now, we made the decision to, and we, not EHD, but the district made the decision that it made sense to self-insure its workers' comp liability. We petitioned the state for authorization to do so and have done so. And over the past 6 years, your workers' comp claims, we've helped to reduce them by, it's a very large number. It's like 90%. So we are down significantly in terms of our spend for workers' comp, which is wonderful, because before that was by far the largest part of your insurance budget. So that's been a great thing. And something else that's before the committee tonight is a renewal of the TPA contract. And the TPA is short for third-party administrator. That's a company that you hire to essentially do the paperwork, to pay your claims for you, to make sure everything's done in accordance with the law. And Inservco Insurance Services is the provider that does that. We've had a relationship. The district has had a relationship with them for 3 years now, and we're at the end of their contract term. So they've offered us another contract, another 3-year contract with a very, very small increase built in, which is great because we've had a great working relationship with them, from Tom and Susan, the folks that actually handle the workers' comp on a day-to-day basis. I think everyone's very pleased with their services. So that's something else that'll before the committee tonight. So last time we met, we talked about approaching our existing carrier, CM Region, to try to procure a multi-year contract with them. And I did make that approach. And about a week later, Corona happened. And as you can imagine, one industry that really hates uncertainty is insurance. The insurance industry does not like to know what's not coming down the road. So they were not willing to offer us any additional rate guarantees other than what they've offered us now. So when you back out, according to the numbers that I have, when you back out the increased spend that we have for buying additional property coverage, for insuring the 26 additional vehicles, we are looking at about a 5% overall increase, which is dramatically less than we talked about back in March. And I will tell you that based on what's going on in the property and casualty insurance world, we're seeing increases anywhere from 6 to 15%, depending on the type of account and the various lines. So the increase that we're seeing overall across all lines, I think, is pretty fair relative to the marketplace, particularly when you consider some of the claims that your carrier has paid over the years on your behalf. So in a nutshell, that's the presentation quickly. I'm sure you've got a lot of other things to get to. I'd like to just ask if anyone has questions or would like more detail on anything specifically. I did provide a document to Tom, which is a 75-page roughly proposal that summarizes every piece of your insurance program. And if you guys have 4 hours, we can go through that, but I don't think you want to. So I just like to see, does anyone have any questions or concerns or anything you'd like me to explain further?
This is Rebecca. I was just wondering about the sports. So we didn't have any sports claims. It's just a statewide thing?
No, you guys have had some claims, and when we talk about claims in this area, Rebecca, just for clarification, you buy student athletic insurance as essentially a litigation prevention device.
Okay.
And what that means is that you don't want, students are typically covered by their parents' insurance.
Correct.
If they have insurance. Sometimes parents don't have, they might have a high deductible, for instance, and they might have some out-of-pocket costs. We don't want the district getting served with a lawsuit every time someone has to pay $1,000 for their kid for deductible. So the sports accident policy will step in and pay that $1,000. Or if a child has no insurance, it will pay the medical expenses related to a sports injury for that. So you have had some experience. I don't have the data with me to tell you exactly what the experience is, and frankly, what they provide us isn't all that great in terms of detail because of HIPAA regulations.
Right.
So we can just kind of get some numbers, but we don't have a great deal of information about who did what and how they got hurt, type of thing.
Does it help our insurance that we have athletic trainers at all sporting events?
It absolutely does. That's
So if we
something
did
that
not
everyone
have
likes
that,
to
it would
see.
go up, correct?
Correct.
All right. How long a period do we have to get a correct count on our vehicles?
Well, your insurance renews on July 1. So we can endorse, we can have the renewal issued as it is today. And if, I don't know, let's say July 30, you come back with a correct count and it's changed, what we can do is endorse the policy and they will credit back any significant, any drop in, even if it's just one vehicle, they'll take that off.
All right. Is Tom still here? Or is he muted or what?
I was muted, sorry. Yes, we identified the vehicles. They were buses that were purchased last year, and we don't know why they were never added to our insurance count. Well, we do have a date when they were sent to the insurance, so we are still investigating that. But we are sending the list out to the different departments to double check our inventory, just to make sure we're on.
All right, sounds good.
Any other questions I can answer?
No, I'm just surprised that our property values went up as much as they did. I know they reassessed, but I didn't realize they affected us that much.
Well, this would be separate, Rebecca, than your reassessment that the county did. This is an outside company that comes in and appraises the buildings for actually replacement costs. So if they were to be destroyed, what it would cost to rebuild them. And overall, in fact, I probably have it here, and I'm afraid if I move my screen, I'm going to lose you all. So I'm just going to take a guess, and I can get you an exact number if you need it. But your overall property values are approximately $450 million across all district assets, all buildings, everything all in together. So, 12 million over 450 million is, as a percentage, isn't all that great. I think it worked out. Right. I did the math. It's about 2%, I think.
Okay. Any other questions before we move on to the next topic?
Oh, I'm fine.
Okay, so
I'm okay.
Mr. Thompson, it's you again. We're going to talk about the TPA contract now.
No, okay, great. Well, I alluded to that a few minutes ago, but we can go a little further. Again, the TPA is an outside company that the district hires to administer, to essentially do the paperwork and make the payments to workers' comp claimants. When you operate in a self-insured environment by state statute, you either need to have the expertise to handle that in-house, which you don't, or you have to outsource it to a third party. We outsourced this when we went self-insured in 2017 to Inservco Insurance Services. They, handle every workers' comp claim that you have. And as such, they keep the data, they make the payments, and for that, they charge a fee, obviously. And the contract that's before you is exactly the same as the contract that you had before, with the exception of a slight price increase. They are offering a 3-year term, and the price increase for this year is $380. The next year, it's another $395. The year after that, it's $405. So at the end of the 3-year term, you'll be paying just under $14,000 a year for that service.
And that's over the course of 3 years, $14,000.
No, that's 14 per year.
Oh, per year. Oh.
Year 1 is 13,110. Year 2 is 13,505, and year 3 is 13,910.
Thank you.
Sure. And that's actually in the body of the document there.
Okay.
On one of those pages, I'm not sure which. So this really is just a renewal of an existing agreement with an existing vendor, and we've got to have it in place to stay in compliance with the state for our self-insured program, which again, by the way, is functioning incredibly, a testament to the admin team that works in-house at the district with Tom and Susan Patulli in particular. They do a great job in managing the program. The safety committee has bought into everything we're trying to do. And we've really been successful in changing the culture of the district, district-wide, as it relates to workers' comp. As an example, I believe it was 6 years ago, you guys had workers' comp claims of over $1.3 million. And this year that we're not finished with the 19-20 year, but the 18-19 year, we had $84,000 in workers' comp claims. That's a huge, huge difference. And now that we're operating in a self-insured environment, all those dollars go into the district's pocket, if you will, or back into the district's budget. So it's a huge savings, and we have effectively removed the profit and overhead that an insurance carrier would charge you to administer that liability for you. So it's been a huge savings and a very successful program for the district through the first 3 years.
Do we carry any gap insurance? Like if a claim is higher than a certain amount, that it kicks in after that amount, or are we fully insured? Or are we fully and self-insured for all claims?
No, you do have we call it excess insurance. It was one of the lines on the item on the last slide that was up. And you partner with a carrier called Safety National Insurance, which is one of only 3 insurance writers that write this type of coverage. And your attachment point is either $400,000 or $500,000. So any claim that would be over that amount, the excess insurance would step in and take care of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tom, were you the one that put this together?
I'm sorry, George, is that a question to me?
I was asking. I was asking McIntyre. What were you, Rob? Were you and Tom the ones that put that together?
Tom was we put this together 3 years ago, and Tom was involved, and Jeff Bader was the business manager at the time when we rolled this out. But it was a suggestion that after looking at the losses that you guys have experienced and seeing the work that we had done internally with the safety committee and some of our resources that we provide, we thought it would be a great program for the district, and it has proved so.
Well, we love to see savings.
we love to show them to you. So it's been great. But again, I mean, none of this could have been possible without the buy-in of the board, of the administration team, of everybody in changing the culture. So it's I frankly, I use it as a case study when I'm talking to other school districts. Say, this is, you know, if you engage with us and let us do what we do, we can provide these results to you as well. So it's been a great partnership.
So not all schools self-insure?
Not all, nope. It really depends on the size of your liability. You know, when you're a smaller district, if you've only got, say, I don't know, $20 million in payroll and you're only paying $100,000 a year for workers' comp, it doesn't make a lot of sense to self-insure, because you can put yourself on the hook for a lot more than the premium would cost from an insurance company. But when you're much larger like you guys are, and you're able to spread that risk out, and most critically, you have great loss prevention programs and great loss control programs post-claim, it does make a lot of sense. The biggest thing that has helped us as a district implement and control these savings is the return to work, the transitional duty program that the board put into effect. I want to say it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, but basically when someone's out on workers' comp, when they're injured, we have the ability now to bring them back to work in any capacity. So if they can, I use it kind of facetiously, but if someone's capable of counting paper clips in the office, we want them back at work, because studies have shown that those claimants get better a lot faster than they do sitting at home watching the attorney commercials on TV.
And Rebecca, just to piggyback off that, is when he was talking about the return to work program that we started at the district, which has been very successful, but this contract with Servco, they take that extra work that Susan or somebody else in our office might have had to handle, and they would follow up with the employee, make sure they're doing okay, if they're getting to their doctor's appointments, if they're not able to. So the third-party administrators have been fantastic in the 3 years we've been working with them, keeping in touch with the employees and keeping myself and Susan and even Rob's team abreast with our quarterly updates on where we stand with each claim. So they take a lot up for that $14,000 at the end of 3 years. That's not even a full-time, and that's a part-time employee in our district. That's even less than that. So for them to do full-time work, it's been a great program that has gotten better over the years with a lot of help and buy-in from everyone involved.
One of the things that's important for the finance committee to understand, and I think probably intuitively you all do, is that particularly now that we're in the post-COVID world and there's so much uncertainty around everything related to your business, it's critical that we are looking under every rock and trying to find savings, George, as you said, wherever we can. But not just savings, not just, hey, let's buy widget A that's cheaper than widget B. Let's find ways to make things more efficient, because a lot of times when you have workers' comp claims, for instance, you have the direct cost of the claim. In other words, the medical care and the lost wages and that type of thing. But there's always a tremendous amount of indirect costs. So if we can drive your claims costs down from 1.3 million down to 84,000, we also save a tremendous amount of indirect costs, which you're not really measuring today, but OSHA has some statistics out there that estimate the indirect costs can be 4 times the amount of the direct costs. So really what we're looking to do is obviously save the district hard dollars, but also maximize the efficiency of the district as it relates to the workers' comp program, because as you, I think you all, again, intuitively kind of know, the insurance industry, the insurance marketplace is the marketplace. It's going to do what it's going to do. And there's not a tremendous amount that the East Stroudsburg School District can do to control their own destiny in that regard. But when you're talking about managing the cost of a workers' comp program, there's a lot that you can do to make your program better, more efficient, and more effective. And I think we've done that with the self-insured program.
Quiet. Okay, so that any other questions for Rob? And I apologize for my dogs. There's a groundhog in the woodpile in front of my house.
We all have it.
That's okay. They killed one the other day and brought it into my bedroom. So
Oh,
I'm glad they're just barking at it right now. We're not bringing it inside.
nice present for you.
Yes. So if we have no other questions for Mr. Thompson, we're going to turn it over to Paul and let him talk about our food delivery service.
Hello? Did you?
Go ahead, Paul.
Oh, okay, great, thanks. Didn't know if we were on. Okay, so we're back, and we recommend at this point, as we spoke about last month, that we continue the program going into July and August. We did show a slight decrease of meals after school went out. We're down about 7%. However, we can go down as high as 32% to be still cost neutral for the district, which is a substantial amount of meals lost. Would be lost. We think we're going to run between 10 and 15% less than what we were running in May. And we think it's still going to be cost positive for the district to continue the program as has been set up since mid-March, with the delivery of meals to the students, as well as the grab and go at our 3 locations. Up here is, if you look at your current factors, you could bring that down a little bit, and you can see what the cost neutral would, the cost revenues would be. If you can bring down, there we go. That it would include for a new variable, and that would be supplying adult meals, and there would be no revenues received with those adult meals. So it would just be a pure cost. And that was for the, Mr. Schlamus had said, let's look into possibly being able to do senior meals last month. The good news, and then there's bad news. We applied for $75,000 in the grant. We received $20,000, but only for Pike County. And so we could have only done a senior meal program out of Pike County. The other bad news is that any person using this grant, we would have had to take an application and a verification of their income. So it would have been a paperwork nightmare. So the thought was, since there is some cost positiveness in our program, that we plug in a figure of an estimate of how many meals we could serve every day to our senior population. So with 22 months and a cost factor for food only of about $1.10, for the 22 days in a month and 1,000, it would cost the district about $24,000 to have this service to our seniors. Now, so you know, overall, I'm on a month or weekly meeting with the meals assessment in Monroe County. The food pantries and banks are actually leveled off and actually going back to the numbers that they were previously serving prior to the pandemic. So they peaked in April and May. Their need is starting to level out and actually go down. The 2 school districts that I've been in contact with on this also, both Pocono Mountain and Stroudsburg, they have leveled and their numbers are going down also. Pleasant Valley has gotten out of the program and given it to Pleasant or PVEN, which is a food pantry, to handle. Their numbers went down substantially too. I think we will stay at a good within minus 10% to minus 15%. And I think we will pick up senior meals by going with this once we start advertising it and have it initially start at our grab and go areas. And then if we see that there's not a big need for it at our grab and go, then I would recommend that we try maybe a pilot or two of trying senior meals off some of the buses initially to see how that goes. But as I said, there's factored into our scenario here is 1,000 meals a day for the 22 days for the month of July.
Hey, Paul, this is Rich.
Yeah.
Are you factoring in Dansbury Park kids too?
Okay, well, this is some good news there. We just picked up the YMCA. We started servicing them today. Just 30 kids or 60 meals. And that will go up to about 90 when I was speaking to their director, Nicole Miller. Dansbury Deck, I've been in contact, Dansbury Park, I've been in contact with Amy Pacheco. We're starting on next Monday, the 15th. We're picking up 50 meals there, or they're picking up 50 breakfasts and 50 lunches. We're going to serve them over there. And they expect to maybe go up to maybe 100 campers this year at the park. So there will be some outlet and meals served at both Dansbury and the Y. As I said, the Y started already today. The other park that we serviced last year, Stroudsburg behind Stroudsburg High School, they're not having the program this year. So we're not going over there.
Thank you. So the bottom line,
go ahead.
Paul. So the bottom line here is that you anticipate our cost to be close to revenue neutral, even feeding seniors by the end of August. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, and I'm not blown out the August numbers yet, but if you start this, I did some calculations for June. If you would start this, if you board approve this next week, we start on Tuesday, so you'd factor in 11 days in June. And we would be showing, let me just bring that up if I can find it here on my screen. Let's see where it is, I'm sorry. We'd still be showing about a $72,000 bottom line positive in June if we start it next Tuesday, a week after your board approves it. And then in July, we're showing what you see on the screen there.
That's not bad. That's actually really good.
That's very positive. It's a this type of feeding is like a catering event. It's pretty much there's not a lot of waste, as I mentioned last month, and we're sending out 2 bags per person. So therefore, you gain the full reimbursement for 2 full breakfasts, or a full breakfast and a full lunch, with each student picking something up. So yeah, it's and so I imagine unless the numbers really plummet, we should be able to take this all the way through August 31st. The other thing, Rich, we have leeway in that our labor is not fixed at each of the sites. And as our staff has signed on, they know that hours could be adjusted. Some folks have already opted to take some additional days off. So we'll be able to adjust our labor, as well as in speaking with Dawn today, relooking at the buses if need be in July and August. So there's some leeway there also as we go forward. But I think it's important that we continue this program through July and through August. USDA has extended that program all the way through August 31st. Our national organization is trying to lobby USDA actually to run it until next June of 21, which would be a benefit for the district as a side, because then all the children will be eating at no cost throughout the all next school year. And with all the ideas up in the air of how we're going to feed children, that would be a real positive for us if that does occur. Their USDA has given us a waiver for part of the program right now, where we don't have to offer all 5 vegetable components. So we're exempted on the beans and the starches through the end of June. We will be audited again in July and August. They have not lifted that waiver, which should not be a problem because we've been audited every other year for 10 years that we've been running the program without any findings. So I'm not too concerned about that either.
So they're going to actually extend free lunch to all students next year if this continues?
Our national organization, which is a 57,000 member organization, has made that recommendation to USDA. We've not heard back yet if they're going to do that, but it would be a great benefit if they did do that.
Our collection costs would go down because there would be no collection.
There we are. Make Mac very happy. Yeah. So, I heard Mac was donating the $70,000 for that collection this year. So that was very good of him. Yeah. So, but yeah, it would save a lot of hassles that way. Unfortunately, there's a program out called Coordinated Effort Program, and that's where it's called CEP, where if all children eat at no cost, but you really need to have a free and reduced factor of over 70% for us to even be cost neutral on that. Right now, we're about 56%. I just did some numbers. In fact, I owe Mr. Moran those numbers. I have them, Ryan, in my file. I had to send them out to him. He had asked to see them. And so we're working, that would be a great program, but our poverty level is not high enough for us to qualify at this point. But again, if USDA does extend it, it would be wonderful. Then take us, to save a lot of hassles, especially as we're coming up with ideas on how to feed the children, especially when they come back in August and September with the restrictions we might have.
Any other questions for Paul? Anybody?
Okay. Well, then we will see you back here in July one more time to.
I know it's going to. We're going to have to. Maybe it'll be in person. We'll have cake for you.
Oh, that would be great. I like vanilla cake. I just lost you, so.
Okay.
Okay, that'd be great. Vanilla with a little butterscotch icing would be great.
I'll have to remember that, Paul.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Paul.
Good night.
Our next item on the agenda, hopefully I pronounce this right, for tonight, 4T SEAM RFQ by Mr. Borash. Did I say that right, Brian? You got to unmute yourself.
Yep, it's Fortinet, and the product is FortiSIM.
Okay.
And the SIM with the E silent stands for Security, Information, and Event Management.
Gotcha.
And we've had a lot of discussions this past school year. There have been a lot of cyber attacks on school districts, nonprofits, hospitals. I know Solderton got hit the beginning of the school year, Jim Thorpe, Pleasant Valley, a school district up in Wayne County. And unfortunately, they didn't know what occurred until it was too late. So we looked and spoke with different vendors starting back in September, myself and my team. And we came across this product. We reviewed it, we vetted it, kicked the tires on it a little bit. Basically, what the product does, it takes data from basically anything that's on the network, a server, a switch, a firewall, computers, Chromebooks, and it brings that data into this product and correlates it so that we can analyze it quickly. Right now, we would have to go into separate systems to analyze that, and basically it would protect us or it would alert us quicker to any instances of ransomware, any type of data breach, cyber attack, large exfiltrations of data over the internet, unauthorized attempts like brute force passwords, slower attacks that aren't noticed as quickly, something that's maybe stuck in our system and maybe wouldn't be activated for a couple weeks. So we vetted several solutions, as I mentioned. We looked at this product and we did an RFP back in May. It was due the beginning of June, and we had 6 vendors. They gave us a 3 and a 5 year option, and basically that option is there's maintenance on software. All software companies love to charge the maintenance piece now. I prefer the 5 year maintenance, and the lowest vendor was Integra One at $95,936. And while that seems like a large number, and I see Rob Thompson's still in here, and I can ask him to jump in. I'm sure the cost of a data breach or any numbers of things that occurred would exceed that number just for one occurrence.
Yeah, Brian, thanks. I was hoping you were going to bring me into this. A couple of those schools that you mentioned are actually clients of mine, and I've had some other clients that have had some data breaches, and a lot of times you think, maybe it's not that big a deal. You just clean up the software and get the IT guys to do some stuff. I'm not an IT guy. I don't understand your world, but what I can tell you is that in each instance, and I'm thinking of 2 in particular here in Monroe County, one of which you mentioned, the cost for the cleanup, some equipment replacement that had to be done, notification, legal fees, all the stuff that has to happen according to law. The costs were in excess of $100,000 each time. One was more than $200,000, and these are for breaches that weren't considered a big deal relative to what you see in the news, the Home Depots and the Targets of the world. So, anything you can do to make yourself safer in that regard is important. The next question is, well, do we have cyber liability insurance? And the answer is yes, you do. It's part of your budget. It's part of the program we just discussed. And in both cases that I just referenced, the insurance did respond to provide coverage for certain things subject to deductibles, and every case is a little bit different. But you do have a financial backstop there in your insurance policy, but it's always good risk management to make sure you've got things protected as protected as possible on the front end.
Out of curiosity, by adding this, will this, like when you do things on your car, if you have anti-lock brakes, you get a discount. Do we get a discount on our insurance because we now have this as well?
Well, the short answer is no. There's not a box that gets checked like you just referenced for personal car insurance. But right. when we present you, the East Stroudsburg School District, to an insurance carrier that might offer cyber insurance, will they offer you potentially a lower rate if you are being proactive in the managing of your risk, which consequently becomes their risk? And the answer to that is typically yes. Just to frame it again for the group, your cyber liability insurance at this point for the $1 million limit that you have only costs a little less than $7,000 a year.
Okay.
So it's not a tremendous piece of your budget overall, but certainly if you guys implement this, we will let your carrier know that you've done so and are doing what you can to make yourself a better risk.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Borash about Fortinet or Integra One?
Rebecca, you asked a question I was going to ask.
Did I? Did we think alike, Rich? Okay.
Just a point of clarification for Rob. From your standpoint, you're seeing a large increase in this hitting educational institutions the last several years, correct?
Oh, absolutely. It's weekly now that we're seeing, whether it's educational institutions, municipalities. What's happening is the bad guys out there are realizing that the big companies, the Targets and the Home Depots of the world, are spending millions of dollars to make themselves safer, and they're becoming more difficult to penetrate. So they're moving down to the easier prey, which is schools, hospitals, municipalities, even cities, places that you would think that wouldn't have a large cyber exposure, but they're going after the easier targets.
Crazy. Any other further questions on that topic? Nope. Okay. Stay there, Brian, because you're going to do the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite agreement now.
Yes, this is an agreement. This agreement is, we currently have a 3-year agreement with GovConnect for our Adobe software suite. It expires June 30th. This would have been our second 3-year agreement. They changed the program around a little bit, and it's now a 1-year agreement. And the software is utilized in various areas. It's tied into the curriculum at the secondary level, at the high schools and middle schools, and technology applications, tech ed, web design. The Adobe Acrobat DC, our administrative secretarial professional staff use. We're seeing an uptick in usage of that with digital signing. We're implementing more of that now that we're working. A lot of folks are working remotely or in a hybrid situation. The current agreement is about a $3,000 savings on what we have been paying. And it's similar to our Microsoft agreement, the Lancaster Lebanon IU. They do a consortium for all different types of software. And while they're not the vendor, they're basically the vehicle to obtain this software.
Can we as a school board members get on this, on the agreement?
I do not know the answer to that. I will look into that for you for the Adobe software. Adobe is really restrictive. It phones home, it checks license counts and stuff like that, but I can definitely look into that for you, Mr. Andrews.
I'm just curious because I think we all of us have used Adobe or PDFs and all. And, for our school district work. So that's why I was asking.
There's actually another application that we can push out to you via Google, via G Suite. It's called Kami, Kami. We can definitely give you access to that. That does some of the similar functions, just not at this higher level that Acrobat does. But again, it's the majority of the reason we're getting this is when you start looking at what's taught in the curriculum, web design at the 2 high schools, the technology applications classes that Terry Toth and Sandy teach at Lehman and JTL. They go through a lot of those things. Our yearbook at High School South uses InDesign to create the yearbook, different multimedia applications as well.
So the cost is $19,680, right? If I'm reading it right.
That is correct. And it's close, like $5, $3,000 less than what we have been paying each of the past 3 years.
But this is only a 1-year contract, so next year it could go up.
That's correct. It could go up. I do believe, again, they changed the licensing model, so we had to take a best guess on where we're going to be at. So basically, students will only get the licenses when they're in specific classes. And so we have to extract data from our student information system to go into the Adobe licensing software system. And based on the current schedule and the amount of staff, we went with a 4,000 seat limit. That's the cap of how many people can utilize the software at once. Once we go through this for a year, I think we can trim that back by a couple hundred moving forward.
So are all the staff going to be on it regardless of whether they're going to use it? Or will you just log them in if they need to use it?
So they would log in, they would use their Google account to log in when they access the software. And that's basically, for lack of a better term, it creates a check or a tick that, okay, a license is in use. So,
and then they can pull the license if they're no longer in need of it?
Right. So, for example, if we'll use the high schools, for example, if you have a student that's in tech ed in the fall, but they don't have a tech ed or a web design class in the spring semester, once the schedule changes over to the new semester, to the second semester, they lose their ability to access the software because they're not in a class that requires it as part of their curriculum.
And the ones that are will then replace them.
That is correct.
And then the kids that are in their clubs and stuff that have to use it year round will stay year round.
Yes, I'm not aware of, well, let me back that up. The majority of the students in those clubs are in these classes.
Right.
And should there, that's a good point that you brought up. Should they not be in the class and not have a license, we would create the club as a class in our student information system. So it's automatically brought over to the licensing program.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Boresh on that topic? Because he's not done yet, he's got more to go, so. Anybody on that? Okay. So now we're gonna go to.
I apologize, Rebecca. I just wanted to, I have to leave. I just wanted to say goodbye and
Oh,
and
thank you.
everyone for the time. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I will talk to you again soon, I'm sure.
Yes, and we'll get to the updated information on our vehicles.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have our technical and E-rate consultants.
Yes, and so basically a little back end of this. Our wide area network is 15 years old, and since I've been here 12 years, so I've been here for 3 contracts. The Colonial IU redid their network this past summer. They did a big RFP, and they cast a wide net. They started in the summer, and they saw some savings. We also jumped on board on part of that RFP. We didn't really have enough time to fully vet some of the solutions that were provided to us. But the IU, with numbers that were provided to us by the IU, at the time, there definitely was a cost savings for us. But again, with COVID-19 coming up, we just didn't have enough time to fully vet this. So we did a 1-year renewal with Penn Teledata for our wide area network. For the most part, Penn Teledata / Blue Ridge is the only game in town in Carbon, Monroe, Pike counties. We did see when we got some pricing, when we piggybacked off the IU's RFP, there was another company involved and they gave us pricing as well. So tried to figure out what to do moving forward. So we just, as a stopgap, because of what occurred with obviously COVID-19 and you know, the emphasis was supporting learning from home as opposed to kind of planning some of these projects. We just did a 1-year renewal, which the board approved. So the last month or so, we circled back on this project. We did look at different consultants, different people that had specific expertise in this area in K-12. The first person, well, I'll go to the E-rate consultant. So what the E-rate consultant would do is for the first year alone, file all the forms, make sure everything's done related to the RFP, make sure all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. I've been filing the E-rate for the district the last 12 years. I've done it in 2 other districts. I have a lot of experience, but when we do an RFP and a brand new network design, I don't feel comfortable doing it the first time around. Our discount rate is 80%. You know, we usually, I think our wide area network's about $200,000. So we only pay $40,000 out of pocket for that. So I don't want to risk leaving any money on the table for that. The E-rate consultant is an attorney. She did write the E-rate laws back in the late 90s when that legislation has come out. She's out of Harrisburg. She also serves as the E-rate coordinator for the state of North Dakota. She was the E-rate consultant for Colonial IU for their WAN RFP this past time around. She has a lot of experience with this. And I was on the RFP committee for the Colonial IU, so I have already had some experience working with her, and she's very sharp. I don't think there's anybody better suited for that. There are other E-rate consultants, but I think they would all take a backseat to her. The other, the technical piece is K-12 Tech Solutions. The principal partner there is Ray Case. Ray Case is a retired technology director in K-12 education. He's worked at several school districts as well as an intermediate unit. His most recent project was the Delaware County IU. That wide area network has 52 sites. So it serves not only the intermediate unit, but they sell internet to school districts. So it covers the other school districts. It covers the Delaware County Prison. It covers the Delaware County offices, Head Starts. Delaware County IU also oversees their own technical schools. So he went through that project. I spoke to two individuals at Delaware County IU. They were very happy with him and what he was able to do. Their network was kind of in the same shape as ours. It was developed in 12, 15, 18 years ago. It was antiquated at best, and they needed a better design. Again, our network is old, and I think due to the additional amount of devices we're seeing, we have 1-to-1, 6-to-12. We're going to be moving 1-to-1 into the elementary school. So we have more devices. We're going to need to increase the capacity on the WAN to meet not only the current demands, but future demands too. Right now we have student devices on there, but we all have 2-3 devices. You have an iPhone or a Droid, and some people may have a tablet, some people may have a computer. So future-proofing the network, to be sure. My goal here is obviously to see some cost savings down the road here. And regardless of what we do, we can continue to go with PTD, but I think there's some other options, and there's some other players in the game that are willing to come in and build fiber for the school district should we need it.
Is that what we're really talking about, is building fiber, or are we talking about like the placement of individual APs in a building to ensure that there's coverage across the whole board?
So basically the wide area network connecting all the schools back to the hub site, which would be High School South, with a failover at High School North, which is where our secondary data center is. It's the interconnecting fiber for all the sites. Right now it's leased fiber, again, through Penteledata. And while we do get E-rate on it, I think we can do better, whether we end up with another vendor or this forces to squeeze the incumbent down to some cost reductions. What the IU did, they did a lit fiber and dark fiber option. They went with dark fiber. That's kind of where we'd like to go if the pricing's right, where we would own the fiber and we would pay Penteledata to maintain it, but we would light it. We would have our equipment on the ends, and we would own that equipment as opposed to leasing that equipment. That's another cost savings. It's kind of like your cable modem at home or your router at home. You could probably buy it for $200, but some people get a bill and a line item in their bill for $10 or $15 for rental of equipment. I want to try to move away from that as well.
And that fiber would be dedicated to us, right? We would be the only subscriber on that fiber if we owned it.
Yes.
Okay.
Whereas now we share it.
Yes, that's correct. And the way the network is designed, just so you know, it doesn't leave High School South and go directly to the schools. All the traffic goes from High School South. It goes over to the Penteledata Stroudsburg node. Then it goes out to the schools. So there's kind of a stop there in the middle. Everything's got to be filtered through their equipment, which I don't necessarily prefer either. Whereas and when we talk about failover, there's not a really good failover for our WAN. We've been fortunate. No poles have been hit that have crippled this. But we want to have some disaster recovery / resiliency built in. Should that occur, should a pole get hit out in front of the high school south, we can continue to provide services out of our north data center. And all 10 sites would not be down, just, the high school south would be down in that type of situation.
Would this help with cybersecurity as well?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. Again, we would control the equipment as opposed to Penn Teledata controlling the equipment, or whoever the wide area network provider would be. But we would have more control, definitely. And there's a lot of different options when you do dark fiber. The most popular option is again, you lease the fiber. There may be some build costs up front. However, you still pay whoever put the fiber in a maintenance cost. That ensures, a tree comes down, a pole gets sheared off, they come out and fix it. Because obviously we don't have anybody on staff to be climbing poles to be splicing fiber back together.
So if we own the fiber, then we have to employ people that can fix it?
No, so let's just say, I'm just going to throw a number out. Let's say a fiber line from high school south to Jam Hill would be $100 with no maintenance. That means we would be responsible for the maintenance. Maybe the cost would go up to $120 for maintenance. So what that means is if a tree branch comes down on that fiber and knocks it out between here and Broad Street, Penn Teledata is responsible for the maintenance, meaning they would have to come out and fix it.
So in this we have here under B is just the cost to do the RFP, to do the research, to plan out, to do this, the $20,800.
Yeah, it's a big project because with E-rate, there's several steps. There's Deb Crete would work with the consultant on throughout the steps to make sure we're in compliance with the E-rate. E-rate's a complicated program, and there's a lot of timelines that we need to be mindful of, and you have to kind of start with the end in sight and backtrack from there. Mr. Case provided, and I'll pull that up. Her fleet fee is $7,500. Just pull up here. That's basically, this is what we would get from Mr. Case. So he would perform an audit on our current wide area network. He would issue a report on that, perform plan analysis. He would do a project plan, approve an RFP, distribute the RFP, participate in pre-bid meetings and calls with vendors, complete bid specified communications, analyze the results, report back to myself, or if you so choose, he can report directly to the finance committee. Project management components, conference calls, and customer service progress reports.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Borash on this? Is it safe to assume no questions on this?
No questions for me.
Then for me,
How long is it going to take to get the analysis back, do you think?
When you refer to the analysis, when you're looking at the screen, are you referring to task 1.1, the WAN assessment?
Yeah.
That I don't know. I mean, we would obviously come up with a schedule with dates once, should the board decide to move forward and approve this. This wouldn't be an expenditure that's this year. It would be a July 1, 2020 to June 30th, 2021 fiscal item. So his services we wouldn't engage him until on or after July 1st, should the board choose to move forward with this. I can definitely provide you with that schedule and any other updates here. I think this will take us from the summer into the fall, and have everything wrapped up here, I would say January, February, because usually that's when you need to file the second E-rate form to say you've selected a vendor and here's all the prices, and then that's vetted through the E-rate program.
So we should, if we're going to move forward, put this on the agenda for our next board meeting so we can approve to move forward, correct?
Yes, that's correct. I'd like to get him started, him and the E-rate consultant in July.
Any other questions on E-rate? Nope. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Borash. We're going to move on then, since there's no further questions. And we're going to speak with Mr. Zoll in regards to this substitute.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Wanted to put before the Finance Committee a recommendation in speaking with Paul Schmidt, and I know he's probably signed off at this time by now. During his tenure in our district, there has never been an increase to the cafeteria worker subrate, which is listed at $8. We do have a recommendation for the Finance Committee to consider an increase to $9.50 in hopes of, one, being able to secure additional interested candidates to substitute in that capacity. Two, also being able to maintain individuals who are interested in subbing in that capacity. Oftentimes, they get in there, they see what the work's about, and sometimes they recognize how much they're getting paid and what it all involves, and they don't want to return then. Down below, I have a breakdown for those area districts that I was able to obtain information from the IU in regards to what their current 1920 rates were for that. And again, this is an area that Paul's indicated while he's been on board with us, there has been no increase for this substitute position.
What's the difference between an aide and a worker?
A cafeteria aide are the individuals that work on the floor in the cafeteria with the students. The cafeteria worker themselves are in the kitchen, behind the food lines or at the registers or doing food preparation.
Okay. And we pay them we used to pay them both the same, and now we pay the worker more.
Correct. Yeah, the cafeteria aide actually falls under the in the support staff contract. Their supervision is actually under the building level administration, where the cafeteria worker falls under Paul Schmidt's supervision, or the food service director in that case. The cafeteria aide, they are in place while the students are coming into the cafeteria to receive lunch, sit at their tables, make sure the tables are wiped down, after they're finished, things like that. So that's their responsibility during the lunch service time.
And we don't have a hard time getting those people do that?
For those positions, at times there may be. I've never had anyone reach out to me and say that they're short for it. I haven't had that surface from administration. At the same time, for the window of time that it involves, which is just the food service window. So you're looking at, somewhere between 3 hours to 3.5 hours of time. They may just, cover what they need to during that time. The cafeteria worker, depending on who they're subbing for, their shift may be a 4-hour shift or part of a 7 to 8 hour shift, where they're dependent on food preparation, the cleaning, the food service line, or even the register if necessary.
Now, with all the other people that are on the per hourly basis here, we're competitive with the rest of the districts. I see we looking for the cafeteria worker. But
Right.
now I'm asking a general question is, are we going to be back here again? You asking the same, can we get an increase, or are we actually competitive with the other districts on all these other issues?
Yeah, for some of the other areas, we're pretty competitive. We've done some different increases through the years. A couple years back, we did an increase with our bus drivers, increase with our bus mechanic. So there's been different increases through the years. I'm bringing this to the Finance Committee at this time because typically on our June agenda is when we would approve the support staff substitute rates. And conversation through this past school year has been concerns just with the cafeteria worker area. I've not been apprised of any other areas where we've had difficulty securing people or, you know, that we're not able to keep people.
I'm just looking because some of them we pay basically minimum wage to.
Yes, we do. Probably the other area of concern to look at is a front desk receptionist. At the same time, this might be an area for us to have to look at in greater detail as well. But I don't have any information coming at this point in terms of trying to cover that position for the responsibilities that those individuals serve.
My question is the front desk receptionist, if we go back to school, is their role going to change with pre-screening people into the building? Say, have you been exposed to, have you been this, have you been that, before we even let you in? And is $750 comparable to what their increased responsibilities may be?
Rebecca, it's a great question. I don't have the answer to that in terms of what those responsibilities will look like just yet in regards to guidance or plans from PDE or the CDC for that matter. Certainly we'll be looking at the guidance provided and developing our own, you know, entry plan for our district. And based on that, that might be something that we have to look at or take into consideration. But I felt as though at this time, without having that additional information that you're asking, I wouldn't necessarily make a recommendation at this time until perhaps we have more information.
Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Zoll?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Next up, and the last bunch of them, we'll go to Mr. McIntyre for Frontline Technologies Time and Attendance.
Good evening. Our Frontline is our time clock system, our time clock software, time and attendance software, and also our calling out software that keeps track of our accruals, and also puts our substitutes in contact with our teachers and other staff when needed. This is just an annual invoice. However, when I received the invoice, the original increase at the bottom of the sheet, there was a 4.85% increase in the amount of $42,309. So I reached out to them and asked if there was something they can do with the increase. So helping the district out with what was been going on. And they came back with two different proposals. One is just the continual annual renewal. They were going to only charge us a 4% increase, which was about a $1,000 savings, $500 savings to $41,965. But then they also came back with a 3-year contract. I kind of went with when Rebecca asked a few months ago about insurance offering 3. So I thought it wouldn't hurt if we asked for a multi-year contract. So then they came back with something a little better, which was if we gave a 3-year contract, this coming year, they'd only increase us by 2.5%. and then they'll lock us in for the next 2 years at 4%. So I would like to get approval from the Finance Committee and the full board to go ahead with the 3-year contract to lock us in. Again, this is a necessity for the district. It's our time and attendance software. It's our time clocks. When we went with this company about 3 years ago now, I believe, with the time clock part of the system, they were by far the less expensive by almost half. I think it was just the time and attendance portion, which you see there is hovering around $21,000 to $24,000. Other companies, when we put this out as an RFP, was closer to, the other competitors were around $45,000 a year just for the time clock software.
They also tied into our computer.
Yes, this all ties into our financial software. So all it is once we have everything ready, we download it into an Excel file that gets uploaded right into our payroll system. Any questions?
At least somebody gave us a discount for 3 years. You keep asking, somebody's going to give it.
Yep.
Can we go out for an RFP or can we buy software outright?
We cannot buy software outright. An RFP we could go out for. We don't have the time now to do it, but again, like I said, the time and attendance when we did this 3 years ago, it was pretty much half the price of everyone else. And absent management right now, they pretty much have the lock on school districts because they only service school districts with the software they provide. Now, there are some startup companies starting to come out. I believe I can't think of the name of it, True Time or True Attendance is someone that is just starting up, but I don't know much about them because they haven't cracked the Pennsylvania school districts yet. But if it's something the board wants me to look into, I can do an RFP for new time clocks. But again, we'd have to replace time clocks, software, train everybody. But again, if it's something the board wants us to do, we will gladly do.
Just replacing time clocks would be expensive, so I can't see why we go that route.
Does anybody else have any discussion on a 3-year versus a 1-year contract?
Yeah, I don't know.
Always like it cheaper.
Software absolutely kills us in pricing here. I mean, it's just, I think we could probably buy books and come out way cheaper, So.
Well, we can go back to the manual time clocks and have them punch in a manual clock and everyone count up the time cards again. I mean, a little more labor intensive, but
it's not automatic into the computer.
Right. And I think that's really the piece of you have to look at. Before, we probably would have had 3 or 4 people on staff paying them, $40,000, $50,000 of benefits just to do this one job that we're paying for 41, I think, right?
Yes.
So while I hear your point about the cost, Larry, I mean, you have to look at.
Know. It just,
yeah.
It's like everybody's out there with a time clock program and whatever. You'd think being the masses have instituted this now that the pricing would fall off a little bit, but it never does, Did you hear me?
Yep.
No. Yep. Got it.
Thoughts? 1 year, 3 year?
I'm fine with the 3 year. Just get it over with. You don't have to think about it for the next 2 years.
I'm fine with the 3 years.
At least you know what to put in the budget for next year.
Sure.
Does help me there.
Okay.
Well,
So
doing the 3 years, that gives us a chance if we want to do an RFP, we can. We don't, that gives us some.
We're not going to be under the gun to get it going. We can take our time and do an RFP and
we
look
do
at
it
what
on a timely basis, yeah.
Yep.
So next, we're going to look at our athletic, custodial, medical, and tech ed bids.
Yep, this is our annual bids we've completed. And these are all the individual breakdowns. We did a little bit different this year in our software to make it easier for the vendors. We did it by building. So that's why you see a lot more pages than you have in the past. And I apologize for that. But it did just make it easier for us to segregate who gets what, who ordered what. I did work closely with the custodial departments and the athletic departments. Maricela Horton, my administrative assistant, worked with them to make sure the orders were right, or we didn't have additional surpluses in inventories. If we had some surplus in other buildings, we were able to rotate it to another need within the district, kind of like our paper we discussed with the IU bids. I believe was last month, or it might have been April. So these are the savings. There wasn't much of a savings, probably about the same as last year in total cost of the.
So why are we buying new softballs if we never had a softball season, or tennis balls when we never had a tennis ball season because it got canceled? Shouldn't we have last year's supplies still?
Yes, but if you notice, they didn't. They only ordered. They didn't order as many as they normally have. I'll have to go back and look.
To look at the spring sports that we did not have, that did not use the equipment, to make sure that they didn't just reorder, because that's what we always do.
Mm-hmm. I will double check on that.
And because I don't know, is $50 for a basketball a reasonable price?
Yes, for a game ball it is, yeah.
For a game ball? Okay.
Unfortunately, yes.
I have no idea.
I cringe when my kids ruin their balls and I have to buy a new one. And I'm looking at, I can't see the price of the softballs. So let's see, what are we charging for softballs? Because that's something that we do too.
$62 a case.
And we're buying 8 dozen.
8 dozen.
That to me just seems like a lot of softballs to buy, considering they didn't use them in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
And is tennis a spring sport also?
I believe that's a fall sport.
Okay. So what other sports do we have on here that were sports that?
Just softball, baseball.
Okay. I know soccer's starting in the middle school level, which didn't happen.
For girls.
Yeah, girls. Yeah.
Boys
yep,
in
girls
summer.
Right, because the girls do hockey in the fall.
Yep.
So before we confirm this, I think I personally would like to make sure that they double check their inventory. Because if we did, why should we buy more if we already have them?
Mm-hmm. I will reach out to the athletic directors tomorrow, and I'll try my best to have an answer by the end of the week. I'll definitely have it before the board books go out next week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. The next item is depositories.
This is just an annual request, a state law in the school code that the board just approved the banks we use for where we deposit our funds annually. And there are 3 of them. And I just gave you a list of what funds are used in each of the accounts. So ESSA Bank and Trust right here in East Stroudsburg, that holds all it holds a majority of our general fund, a day-to-day operation. So our accounts payable our payroll, our tax collections, workers' comp escrow, our non-general fund, our scholarship accounts, our special activity accounts, our student accounts, a cafeteria fund, the concession stand, and our PayPal account all work in and out through the ESSA. In addition, we used a Pennsylvania School District Liquid Assets Fund out of Lancaster, PA. That is the one that's run by all the school districts. That holds our general fund. That's our investments. That's where the bulk of our, if you remember, our where our fund is allocated to the different appeasers and our savings accounts, more of our savings account with higher interest rates. And then also that's what the Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust out of Harrisburg, and that's where we hold, again, a small portion of our general fund. A lot of our state subsidies get deposited into this fund or into this bank, and our cafeteria fund and our cap reserve fund is all held in this bank also.
And not to be nitpicky, but ESSA has good fees, a good fee structure for us compared to other local banks that are around.
They charge us almost nothing, and they give us the best interest rate we have gotten, even on all our accounts. Where when we switched banks 5 years ago, maybe, I can't remember, 5, 6 years ago, PNC started removed wasn't providing us any interest, but then they drastically increased their fees. So that's where you had an RFP out for our banking, and ESSA came in with just about zero fees. There's times we've gotten charged for something and we question it, and they took it right off. Their customer service is next to none. You pick up a call, ask a question, and they fix it. They find the answer quickly. We have our issues with our bank deposits, with our payroll transactions. They work fantastic on. I mean, recently when there's a major issue with the stimulus checks, when they first wave went out, our deposits were lagged behind, and they kept working with us. They gave us their personal cell phone numbers, and on Thursday night at 9 o'clock at night, we're still seeing the stuff still working through the system. So they have been fantastic to work with.
Perfect. That's what I want to hear.
And a very little cost to the district.
Anybody have any questions on our depositories?
No.
Moving right along, the homestead farmstead.
Hold it right there, Brian. So this is just a resolution that, again, is a state law that has to be passed by the school board, acknowledging the gaming funds from the state of Pennsylvania. As you can see there in 1A, our gambling tax funds is $4,337,838, and that is our share of the property tax reduction allocation. From last year, if you look down at B, there was a leftover because there's a long formula that is very complicated how you calculate how the rebate works. So there's a $1,110 left over from last year when we did it. So we add that to this amount. And then there's also the Philadelphia tax credit reimbursement, which is also called the Sterling Tax Fund. And this is for tax credits that are claimed against our school district by school district residents that might have worked in the Philadelphia area. And that amount this year was $7,954. So the total number to split amongst all our taxpayers is the $4,346,903. So then both Pike County and Monroe County provide myself, the district, with the number of homestead applications that were approved. And as you can see there in 2A, the homestead property number for Monroe County is 7,116 properties are approved for homesteads, and while there's $2,794 in Pike County for a grand total of 9,910 homestead properties. And then there's in farmstead properties that were approved, there's only 4 in Monroe County and 0 in Pike County for a total of 4. So that add the two together, you got $9,914 or properties within the 2 counties. And if you can scroll to the next page, Brian. There we go. So then with all the calculations, the farmstead at a maximum of $441.57. So if you see in number 4, which I have to thank Susan for, she proofread this for me today. The Monroe County mill of 30.72 mils, in parentheses, that should be a 0.03072. So when I give this to Rich after the board meeting, you'll have the right copy to sign for us. So with all this, you'll see down at the bottom, it was approved at $14,374. You'll have a tax, you'll have a credit on that much of your assessed value in Monroe County, and then $3,570 of the assessment in Pike County. And that's really all about it. It just, so the basic basis is you will see Monroe County would see a maximum of $441.57 coming off their tax bills due to the gambling laws that were passed back in 2006. I think I said at the beginning.
And they're not going to not give them to us because they're not open, right?
Well, it was a very touchy situation last week, but everything cleared out and they found the money and we got it this year. Next year will be a new story. So I'm more worried about next year. This year, after they gave us all this information, we did all the calculations, we had everything ready to go. And then about 2 weeks ago, we got a letter that they were not going to certify the number and it was going to be a 50% reduction, which would have been a drastic hit on the taxpayer, not the district, but it would have been on the taxpayer. And that all got cleared up last Friday when they passed the budget. And they found money to cover the $300 million that was missing, and everything's good for this year.
For this year. We'll see what happens
Yep.
next year. Okay.
Yep. Any questions?
Next, it's your favorite topic.
Yeah.
The final budget.
The final budget. That is correct.
Let's see what kind of magic you did.
Wasn't much, but it did try. So as you remember from back on May 18th, we had a projected fund balance deficit of $5,973,678, which again, back in the end of April, the board just directed the administration to use the fund balance that was designated for future budget expenditures to cover the deficit. Next page. So again, this is just a little timeline of our 4 meetings as with the budget has changed. As you can see, on the May 18th, there was a drastic change, but before April, that was when the coronavirus numbers started coming out. So our revenues are going to be, we feel, are going to be drastically affected by this. Salaries changed a little bit, salaries and benefits with some changes with the most recent retirements. And then some additional investments, expenditures that we've had, we were able to show some changes. And as you can see, as they kept going down. So that's where we were as of May 18th with a $5.9 million deficit after with the proposed budget. So next page, Brian. Next slide. So some adjustments to revenue, some good news, some bad news. With the state basic ed subsidy, first time I can ever remember that I'm presenting a budget that the state approved their budget before we approved our budget. I think everyone's aware the state approved a 5-month budget for just about all state agencies. The only area that was approved for a 12-month budget that was school districts. We were flatlined from this current year's basic ed subsidy. And so I plugged that number in there, that just off $202. But now that's a fixed number, which we'll be moving forward with, which again is very good news. I was not expecting to be flatlined. I thought for sure it was going to be hit pretty hard with everything that's going on. Just to seeing the numbers, they're behind almost probably $1 billion, a little bit more now, with the last numbers I've seen with between the sales tax on their revenue side, with their sales tax and their earned income tax. So the state is going to have some fiscal issues going down the next road, going down the road over the next couple of months. Some unfortunate news: the federal government, our Title I subsidy, was approved, and it's $193,900 less than last year's. Title II is $2,751 less, and Title IV was $692 less. Big chunk of the Title I was the $193,900. So we will look to see how to pay for those programs that we will be cutting from, or the funding was cut from, moving forward, and we'll have some more information moving along on that. Again, another bright side for now is the CARES Act subsidy, which is it's called the Elementary Secondary Emergency Relief Funds, which is that $1.739,127 from the CARES Act funding. That was not put up into with the state basic ed subsidy, which is where I thought it was going to go. They kept it as a separate line item. However, they do have they did have some strings attached with that money. We have to make sure we use it special ways. Can't use it for salaries unless they're specially used for being used to help with the COVID issues the district has going forward. But all in all, our revenue went up $1.5 million from March 18th discussion, which again was all the CARES Act funding that was solely dedicated, and they kept the state funding, state basic ed funding subsidy flatlined, which again was a good thing. Next slide, please. Some changes on our investment side. The 300 service professional services, as you can see, was decreased by $24,522. Again, we got our final cost estimates from the IU and some of our services that they will be providing. And again, they lowered our costs, hopefully moving into next year. And then our 500 other purchase services, which is our insurances, which we talked about earlier, beginning of the meeting. That was a $23,129 increase from what we were projecting at the beginning. And then this is the last one is the 800 is other objects. So what we did was I took of that 1.7 and we put 750 into our budget reserve account because this is going to be additional investments that we put in a budget reserve because we just weren't sure. We don't know what the expenses are going to be at this time. So, do we put them in the 300s and the under 600s for supplies? So we just put it all right in this spot. So then when it comes time to start spending the money in the areas we designate that we need, then we can do budget transfers into those accounts so we can pay for the items. And the reason I used the 750 was because at first we were hoping that 1.7 was going to be able to help us with our revenue shortages, but then they they put some strings attached to this number, and we need to use for specific items, technology related to the use of more computers in the district because of the learn at home programs and the possibility of using it in the future. Any security upgrades that we may have to do, any supplies, thermometers, masks, PPE. What if we need some extra transportation? Just different things that we felt like we were able to use this to help plug our revenue woes to get us through the hump. It turns out they have a lot of strings attached. So instead of, I had to take some of that money to put on the side so we could move forward and not have to worry about using more of our fund balance. So if you go
So that should cover the forecast and the RFP to get our internet, our WAN improved?
Yes, that is a possibility. And we also have, there's another, the securities PCCD grant that is also being geared towards, instead of safety, security, it's being geared towards being spent on COVID-19 also. And that's an additional $500,000. And that is, we'll wait, once we get this information, I'm moving it over to Angela and she's going to look into it. And we're hoping to push those two and some other technology related things out of that grant, because that's a quicker grant that is due June 30th. So we're going to be utilizing that hopefully for these. So yes, it will save us money moving forward, hopefully. So next slide is our anticipated revenues. We're at $160,104,923, and our anticipated investments expenses $165,285,625 for our final budget, with a deficit of $5,180,702, which again is a little better. So next slide. Again, like I said, it's much lower than our future budget expenditures, fund balance, which is where we plan to use to cover. Again, hopefully we have this, the economy gets better moving forward, possibly the state providing us some more funding halfway through the year, so we won't have to use the whole 5.1, or our collections come in, our revenue comes in higher than anticipated, but we, at least unlike other districts, we do have a fund balance that can hopefully sustain us at least this year moving forward. Next slide, Brian, is our tax rates. Monroe County, since the beginning, we're sitting at that 30.72 mils, and Pike County 123.66 mils, which Pike County, it's flatlined from last year. Monroe County is obviously much lower than previous years, but that was due to the reassessment. And that is all I have. Any questions?
Yeah, did anybody get a chance to talk with Angela about any grant money possible for the water treatment at Resica and Middle Smithfield?
I have not touched base with her yet on that.
I did, Larry.
Okay.
Yeah, I did reach out to her to look into those.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I think you're going to see the interest rates start to go up because the market itself has been doing really well lately. So hopefully as the 10-year treasury goes up, your savings rates will go up too.
I hope so too, because we've been doing fantastic on our investments these last 3 years, 4 years. And I'm hoping they come back around quicker than everyone else thinks they're going
Well,
to.
what are you guys invested in? Like, what do they invest in?
We're very, our hands are tied. It's very limited. We have to, we can't go into the stock market. It's mostly bonds, CDs. It's nothing, it's all.
Right. Because like
Not-
your S&Ps and your Dows and all that have almost completely recovered since it crashed.
Yeah.
So and 10-year treasuries up now. So it's starting to go up. So I think we're going to start to see savings rates starting to go up. They won't stay at the 0.5% that they're currently at. And once more people go back to work, banks are going to start to raise their rates as well.
Yep, I think so too. I think you're going to see the economy start quicker than other people are thinking right now. So people are going to want to get, once they're allowed out of their houses, they're going to want to get out of their houses, I think. So.
And spend money.
And spend money, correct.
So how would we acquire treasuries in the district?
I would have to talk with PISLOF is where a majority of our funds are housed, and they have a portfolio which I don't have with me right now, so I can't tell exactly what it's built, but I can look at it. I can even ask one of the representatives to come speak to the finance committee if you would like to see what they do and how they do it, since the board is relatively new.
Okay.
Yeah, that would probably be an interesting thing. What do you think, Rebecca?
Yeah, I'm sure we would love that, wouldn't we, Larry?
I'd be.
Or maybe they wouldn't like us.
What were you saying, Rich?
It would be interesting. It'd be interesting information to know.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, for all of us.
I'll ask Diana to reach out to our representatives and see if they're available for our next meeting. If not, I'll schedule them for August.
That would be
Thank
great.
you.
All right.
And then if we don't use the money that we took out of our general fund, it just stays there, right? We only pull it as needed?
Correct. Yeah. So how it works with fund accounting is you have to use how your budget is spent, and then when you overspend your money, that's how it draws down the funds from prior years or from our savings accounts, so to say.
So we can cross our fingers and hope we don't take anything.
Correct, absolutely, and that's my goal. My thought is, and I spoke recently to at a COA that no matter, even if it was budgeted, we're gonna ask the question: do we really need it? Can we wait off another year? Things like that. So we're gonna be pretty particular on what is purchased moving forward, just to protect. And then, hey, if everything turns out that we're gonna not even use any of the money at all, then we can get those items that they want at the end of the year. We'll do that, but we're going to try our best to keep that number as small of a negative number as possible.
Any other questions on the budget before we move to the current projects within the district? With no other questions, how about our current projects within?
Sorry, I muted myself. This is just an update. I just added the new projects that are going on in the district, removed the ones that are closed out if there were. As you can see, JT Lambert has started with the first payment, Rustica Flooring and JTL Flooring. And I'll update this monthly as we get our invoices or get our applications for approval.
Did we ever decide I don't remember, forgive me, what we were doing with the Lehman gym floor? Were we replacing the whole thing? Or were we just going to let insurance pay? Because I don't remember what we decided.
That's on our agenda at the end there. Facilities recommended to replace the entire gym floor with the district paying $144,250, and then the additional $9,240 for the airflow system.
That only made sense.
Hopefully they fix the roof above it before they put the new floor in so it doesn't leak again.
Well, that's already been taken care of, but the whole thing was that
Yeah,
just repair it. We could do one more sanding, and then we'd have to replace it probably. And we had 3 different color floors. So even though we don't like the cost, we still, it made sense to replace
Okay.
it. Right, Larry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just money.
Yes.
Yep. I don't know.
All right.
Federal government can print money. I don't know why we can't.
We just got to get the right printers, the right paper, and we'll all set. We can do it in the basement in one of the schools.
And I nominate, we put Larry's face on the $1,000 bill.
Cool.
There you go. Sounds good. We have some recommendations by the properties and facilities. The application for payment number 1 for Cope commercial flooring at Resica for $119,970. We have an application for payment number 1 of Lehigh Valley Flooring for JTL's flooring replacement. And application 1 for Guyette Communications Industries for JTL's camera installation. And then we have some Dewey Engineering invoice 51087 for $890 for the camera installations. And then Resica and Middle Smithfield water filtration. And invoice 51088 for JTL's flooring replacement of $11,569.50. And invoice 51086 for $3,682 for High School North liner replacement. Okay, and then Kleinfelder invoice 2020-01002, amount of $2,500. And that's for our investigation into the tennis courts. What are we investigating?
Why they separated?
Okay. And Lehman Intermediate Gym Floor, there's what I was asking about. We're recommending the proposal from Miller Sports Construction in the amount of $144,250 for the replacement of the Lehman Gym floor with the alternate of the power vent airflow for $9,240. Do you have any public on this call?
We correct.
I don't know, do we? Any public participation?
Don't think so.
So I don't see anybody raising their hand, so I'm assuming we have no public participation.
I guess not.
Okay. Dr. Riker, did you want to add anything or say anything before I start making my bullet points of what we're moving to the next level?
No, ma'am. Great job. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let me get my list. I'm going to turn a light on so I can see better. It's getting dark. Hold on one sec.
You're muted.
You're muted,
Rebecca.
Rebecca. Yeah, you're still muted.
Hold on. Is that
There you
better?
go.
Yes.
Okay. So my first motion is to move the insurance renewals for the 1-year renewal presented by Mr. Robert Thompson. Do I have a motion to move that to the board meeting for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. I need a motion to move the workers' compensation third-party administration contract to the board meeting as well.
So moved.
I have a second?
Yeah, I'll
Second.
look at that.
Okay,
Okay,
a
the,
motion,
wait a minute.
okay.
I thought we were gonna do the insurance for the 3 years.
They wouldn't do it. He said that they refused to do it because of COVID-19 and too much unexpected things
Oh,
happening.
okay. I forgot.
Yep. So do I have a motion to move the food service delivery to continue to the end of year, including adult meals?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. The next item is, do we want to do,
Rebecca, you said the end of the year. Do you mean the end of July or
no, end of
the?
August 31st?
Okay.
Yeah, August 31st, yes. Or whatever the first day of school is, or however it works. And then we have the cyber attack system, which is going to cost $95,936 for Fortinet, if I pronounced that right. Yeah, Fortinet 40 SIEM RSQ to increase our cybersecurity. Do we have a motion to move that forward?
Yeah, motion.
Second. George got it.
Okay. Our next item is the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite, where we're allowing 4,000 positions within there, and it'll be moved across as needed. And the cost of that is $19,680 for a new 1-year contract.
So moved.
Second.
And it's actually a $3,000 savings from the current program. Okay, and then we have our technical and E-rate consultants. Do we want to hire those 2 people to investigate what we're currently paying in our current fiber to see if what's going to be the most cost-effective way to do that? And that cost is $20,800 if we choose to do that.
I think that there's going to be a savings on the back end of that, because what happens
that's
is,
what it sounds like.
yeah, I mean, you invest the money now, but if we could save $30,000, $40,000 the following year with the right contract.
Right, and
Or it could
with
cost us some more.
And with our technology being 15
Right.
years old, our lines being
Right.
that old, it could,
yeah,
could crash with all of our students now being online.
right. So moved.
Second.
Second, was that Larry? Yep, okay. The next item is the substitute rates, which is everything is staying the same except for increasing the cafeteria worker from $8 to $9.50.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Our next item up is the frontline technologies. We have the choice of a 1-year contract at 2.5% increase. I mean, no, 4% increase, or the 3-year contract with a 2.5% increase the first year, and then 4% the 2 following years. Which do we want to move forward?
A 3-year contract?
Agreed.
Okay, so a motion to move the 3-year contract for frontline technologies time and attendance for the 3-year contract with a 2.5% increase the first year and then 4% the 2 concurring years.
So moved.
Okay, and then we have the athletic, custodial, medical, and tech ed bids.
Subject to review.
Subject to review, depending on what we get back from athletics and sports. Didn't happen in the spring, and we want to make sure we're ordering the right amount of equipment.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that they may not have ordered the equipment that was in the budget for last year. Like they may have withheld purchasing it this current year, knowing that there wasn't going to be a spring sport. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out.
But they had already started spring sports when we canceled, so.
All right, fine. All right.
Hey, my kids do spring sports.
Mine do too, but I don't. Yeah, I guess they had soccer balls out there.
Yeah, and my
never
daughter
mind.
had softballs out there, so. But they were short
Right,
equipment
okay.
because I donated equipment to the schools to use because they didn't have enough, so.
Well, there you
go. Which I still haven't gotten my glove back, my husband's left-handed glove back from the girl that borrowed it. But anyways, that's neither here nor there.
Right.
Depositories. are we going to keep our current banks as is since we are happy with where we have them with the contingency that we're going to have them come talk about what we actually invest in at the next meeting if possible?
Rebecca,
Yes.
I don't believe you had a first or second on the the athletic
Well, we said we were
custodian.
going to table that until we heard back from
You're
athletics.
tabling it? Oh, okay.
And we can add that back to the agenda on for our board meeting next Monday.
Yeah, as long as
If
you
we get it
email us
back.
and let us know what it
Right.
is, and we'll say yay or nay to us,
Okay, thanks.
if that's okay.
I'll just need to approve so we can order some of the items July 1st. That's the only concern I have.
So as long as if you email us and just say they've inventoried it, the four of
This
us
is
will
correct.
just email you back, say good to go, and we'll just put it on the agenda. Can we do that, Patricia? Is that okay?
Or we can, you can vote on it tonight and then pending review, and then we'll put it on if you say okay.
So we should.
That's fair.
Okay, motion to move it forward pending review.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So do I have a first to move that forward pending review?
So moved.
How
Second.
about a second?
Thank you, Larry.
So do I have a motion to approve our current depositories as is?
So moved.
Yes.
Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Okay. And we need to look at our homestead and farmstead rebates as presented by Mr. McIntyre. It's not like we can change what it is, so do we have a motion to move that forward?
Motion.
So moved. Second, I mean.
Okay, so moved.
All right. We are going to get somebody to come in and talk to us about our investments, though.
Yeah, the depositories, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Okay. And then Mr. McIntyre's favorite topic, do we have a motion to move forward our final budget?
Motion.
So moved. All right, Larry got it.
Woohoo! Do I have a second? Rich, you
Second.
can second it. There you go. Okay.
Sure.
And a motion to approve the current projects within the district?
What?
You don't
The
need,
current projects.
you don't need a motion for that.
Okay, perfect. So we have a motion to pay the following bills. Move forward. Do I need to read them all again, or just can I say?
So
So
moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay.
George got the motion, by the way.
I don't care. I don't care who got the motion.
Okay. So that means our next meeting is on my husband's birthday, July 13th at 5:30. So if he's home, you can all sing to him. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
Well, wait a minute. Did we do the gym floor?
Yeah, that was on our bills. I said motion to pay all the bills.
Okay.
So I didn't want to read them all over again. So I said, as long as we approve all those items that you recommended at your properties and facilities, we're good to go.
Okay.
Motion to
I'm
adjourn.
assuming you guys are okay with that since you guys are the properties and facilities too, George and Larry. Okay. Okay. So Rich made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Fantastic.
Good night, everyone.
See you soon.
See you too. No, Wednesday. What?
Wednesday,
Wait for
right,
you.
At the park.
at the park. Wednesday at the
Middle
park.
Smithfield.
Middle
Yep.
Smithfield. Thank you. All right.
All right.
Good night, folks.
Good night.
Nah.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.